Hey, and welcome to the New Mama Marriage Bliss Show. I want to help you get out of the overwhelming distance and guide you to reconnect to yourself and to your husband. You know you want things to be different, but you're probably not sure how to make it happen. Well, Mama, you're in the right place. Here we will dive into all the things you need to start loving your life and relationship and start living like soulmates and not roommates anymore. We will dive into motherhood, marriage, communication, holistic inspiration, and practical hacks and tips. Mama, I believe that transformation and deep connection await you. Hi, I'm Aliza Saeed, proud mama and grateful wife, and the Mama Marriage Coach. You too can turn your mess into magic. Come on, Mama, and let's do it together. Hey there, mamas, and welcome back to the New Mama Marriage Bliss Show. So happy to have you back, and if you're new here, welcome. So today I'm really excited about our episode because it kind of brings together a few of my passions. As well as being the Mama Marriage Coach, I am also a birth doula. And as I'm recording right now, I'm at the end of my 5th pregnancy. Right before delivery, I think. I don't know. Let's see when I'll deliver. But probably by the time this episode comes out, I will already be after childbirth for the 5th time. So what are we going to be talking about in this episode? Today, I want to share with you the huge messages that I have learned through childbirth that really change the way that I live my life and especially my marriage. There are things that in order to have an empowering childbirth are crucial to have. And those same things are the same things that are so important and so essential in a beautiful marriage and also as a mother in motherhood. So those are the things I'm going to be sharing with you today. So you kind of get this like double episode of things that are so important to have an empowering childbirth and also really understand that those same things are what's going to prepare our marriage to be bulletproofed before having a baby. And if we are able to acquire these things during childbirth, then we are going to be able to really empower our relationship and grow as a couple after having a baby. So I know that there are some people that they would much rather just skip over the whole pregnancy, skip over the whole labor, childbirth, contractions, all that needs to be done and just like have the baby and that's it. It's so important to remember that when a baby is born, it's not just the baby that's being born right there because there's a mother being born as well. Even when it's not your first birth, there's still something new that you're being transformed into as a mother of 2 or 3 or 5 for me. And not only is a baby being born, a mother being born, but also as a couple, you're not just a couple anymore. Now you're a couple and you're also parents. And these new dynamics are amazing, but they're new. And there's a lot going on here. So the process of childbirth is much more than just a physical activity or experience of having a baby come into this world. There's so much going on. Now, when I teach childbirth education or I accompany birthing mamas in their births, there are a lot of really important things in order to have an empowering birth. And what we're going to do today is look at some of them. Of course, there's so much more, but we're going to look at some of the really important things that a birthing mama needs and how it's going to help them in the rest of their life as a mama and as a wife. The first thing is patience. My second child taught me this lesson. All the rest of my births were really great, really smooth births that just kept on going and really, flowing, beautiful. This is the only birth that there was something that didn't just go completely smooth sailing. I was dilated for 6 hours at 8 centimeters. Yeah. Oh yeah. No epidural, natural birthing after my water had broken many hours before that. And I was 8 centimeters for 6 hours. And I remember that every time a doctor would come into my room and yet again tell me that I was at 8 centimeters, still yet again, 8 centimeters, I felt such despair. Like, why is this taking so long? I wanted to rush things. I just wanted to make things happen faster. And I wanted everything to happen at the pace that I wanted. I was ready for this baby to come out. This baby was not coming out, and I just wanted the baby to come out. Now, something that I've learned about childbirth is we need patience. And sometimes we think that things have to happen according to the graph on the computer or according to the statistics. But really, if everything's okay, we just need to practice our patience. And now as a mama, of course, we all know what it's like to have to practice patience, whether it's with our children. Why isn't he dressed yet? How could she still not pick up her clothes? They're still on the floor. Why is he in the bathroom for so long? Yeah, we get that one a lot in our house. Why is he still crying? Is he still awake? And we have like this timetable in our head that if things don't go that way, it gets really frustrating. And sometimes we just need to take a deep breath and understand that everything has its own rhythm. It's kind of like a dance, and we shouldn't rush things. Don't rush it. Let it just be. Let's take a deep breath. And I find that it's the same thing with relationships. Sometimes when things are bad in relationships, we want to change, and we want to change now. Like in capital letters, now. I'm not happy with the fact that he does fill in the blank, whatever it is that he does that annoys you. And I want him to change that thing right now. And sometimes we need to just lean into patience. And let's take a deep breath and understand that everything has its own rhythm. I believe that the trick to having real patience is just about being and not doing all the time. If we take away all the things that we want to get done, and we want to be checking off our list of everything that we want to get done, and just start being. In childbirth, that is definitely the trick to a better birth. Just to be present. Breathe in the moment. Breathe out the tension. And our relationship is the same way. We don't have a to-do list. We have a growth path, and that path sometimes takes longer than what we would want. I remember in the beginning of our marriage when we would have like some kind of argument or discussion, and I wanted us to sit down and discuss it right now, finish the conversation, and feel like way back in love again, because I had no patience to wait for things to just roll out in a different way. And sometimes it would drive me crazy because I wanted things to happen when I wanted them to happen. And since then, I've learned that it's okay. It's okay when things sometimes are not the best at that moment. And I need to just take a deep breath and have patience and believe that things will get better, but with patience and taking deep breaths again and again. Not get crazy when things get a little hard. Not get crazy when it's okay. Let's just take a deep breath for a second, and then we'll be able to regroup and do things in a different way. Number 2, I believe that in childbirth, we need to believe in the process. We know that allowing the process to happen will ensure a calmer birth. Studies show that childbirth that is respected and observed rather than rushed and interfered with will have better outcomes. I definitely saw that. As Dr. Grantley Dick Reed writes in his book, Childbirth Without Fear, and I am quoting, "It is generally agreed that one of the most important factors in the production of complicated labor, and therefore of maternal and infantile mortality, is the inability of obstetricians and midwives to stand by and allow the natural and uninterrupted course of labor. It is an unquestionable fact that interference is still one of the greatest dangers with which both the mother and child have to contend." End of quote. I know this might sound a little crazy, but I do believe that when a birth is happening in its natural way, and again, everything is okay, we have to just trust in the process and trust that things happen the way that they need to happen, especially when we have that patience that we spoke about, and just understand that there's a way for things to happen. I remember after my third birth, I was so thankful to my OBGYN, and it was the only time I had a private doctor, and I was so thankful to him. It was a beautiful, beautiful, blissful birth. We were singing the whole time. They couldn't believe it. I gave birth in a hospital, which is 90% cesarean section. So the nurses and the doctors there were really shocked because they never saw birth like that. And I kept thanking my OBGYN, and he said to me again and again, he said, I didn't do anything. And that's exactly my job. My job is to just sit on the side and make sure that you are able to respect the process and do what you need to do. I only intervene if really needed. And I thought that was, first of all, very humble of a doctor to be able to say, but the idea of just really believing that the process can happen the best when we trust in the process, that was really strong to me. And I think that in marriage, many times it's the same way. When things get hard, sometimes we start questioning way more than we really should. And it's because sometimes it's hard for us to believe in the process of the ups and downs of marriage. And marriage has its ups and downs. Marriage has its times of feeling closer and sometimes feeling a little farther away. And that's the dance of love. When we dance with another one, we're not always in the same place, the same distance from the other one. We get closer and we get further away. And the further away is in order for us to come back together, if we know how to do it right. But that beautiful dance is part of the process. So when things get hard, especially after children, things look really different. And sometimes we feel in a real slump of marriage. We have to understand that it's kind of like the lifeline when a person is in the hospital and we see a line that's going up and down on their monitor. That's a sign of life. And that's exactly what marriage is. It's about really understanding that there's ups and there's downs, and it's all part of this dance. And if we're always reframing things as this process and this journey of us growing together, it's okay if there's a time that we kind of are in a little bit of a slump. We use the tools that we have in order to come back together. But believe in the process. Believe in the process that even when things are harder and tougher, we are able to get to grow from it and grow stronger. I remember in the beginning of our marriage when we had lots of time for self-development and development as a couple. I remember saying to my husband once, we should really fight because we haven't fought in a while. And after we fight, then I feel like we get so much closer. We laughed about it a little bit, but then we understood that, there's something really beautiful about this process of the ups and the downs. Childbirth doesn't always go exactly as we plan it. Sometimes things go not as planned. And to just be able to believe in the process and understand that all of this is going to bring us closer to our baby, or all of these hardships in marriage are going to bring us closer to each other and grow stronger and more in love, then it's going to be able to give us the strength that we need in order to continue on. Point number 3, I want to talk about how we know how to do it. My grandmother was born and lived most of her life in India, and I remember her telling us stories about how the women in the villages at least, they used to work in the fields until the end of their pregnancy. And if they were working out in the fields and they felt ready to have the baby, then they would just go to a distant part of the field. They would squat, deliver the baby, and come back with their baby. And I think there's something so primitive and raw about this picture. We women, we know how to give birth. It is our innate ability. The question is, how connected are we to our inner power of birthing life? Because we have it. We have it inside of us. We were created that way. And we just need to be able to tap into it. Problem is, our culture today has stripped us from our connection with our body. We lack confidence in our bodies. Society tries to tell us that our bodies are not enough or not good enough, that we don't know what we're doing, that only the medical professionals know what needs to be going on. And really, we need to just go back a little bit into that primitive motherly instinct of we know how to do it. And I'll go back to my OBGYN for my third birth. He kept saying that to me during the birth when I asked him, like, at some point, okay, what now? He's like, you tell me. You know what's going on. You know how to do this, not me. And he was right. At each point, I knew exactly what was going on. I knew exactly how much I was dilated right before he checked me. I knew exactly when the baby was going further down, when I was ready to push. And I knew it all. It was all about being able to take away that disconnect, remove the barriers that I had put upon myself that blocked me from being in touch with my body and being in touch with what was going on. In marriage, it's the same way. There was a time when we went through a really hard patch in our marriage, and we were going through therapy, and the therapist said to me one time, she's like, listen, you need to stop listening to any classes, any lectures, stop reading marriage books. Just stop. I was like, what do you mean? But I want a better marriage and I want it to happen. She's like, yeah, but you have to go back into your inner wisdom of knowing how to reconnect to each other, of what's right for you. Sometimes we are so busy with seeking outside help and we're listening to so many different voices around us that we lose touch with what is right for me and for my husband, and where are we together without listening. Sometimes we just have to close the books and really turn inwards, because I do believe that we were all born seeking and desiring connection. It's an innate, natural, I don't want to call it an instinct, but a natural, beautiful thing that we were created with, that we desire connection, and it's something that we want, and we know how to do it on a certain level naturally. And sometimes we need to just not listen to everything that's going around. I know it's kind of funny because here I am doing a podcast about marriage, but sometimes the first step is stripping all that down in order to be able to understand what is it that is right for me. I remember I had a friend that we were talking about date night. She's like, we learned that date night is not right for us. It stresses us out. It stresses out the whole day. We don't do date night. We do other things that are good for us and that connect us, and that's not it. And I really respected that she knew how to say, everybody around is talking about doing date nights. I have a list of 50 great date nights that you could do at home that if you don't have, you can get on our website at alizasaid.com and find that list. But for them, they knew that it wasn't right. And that was great, that she was able to really connect to what was right for them and not just listen to what everybody else was saying should be right for them. In order to do that, we need to not listen to the judgment of everybody else. We need to work through past traumas, and we need to grasp our deep inner voice, because inside, if you strip everything down, you know to say what it is exactly in your marriage that you're not happy about. And if you strip all the voices around you, leave comparison out, leave judgment out, leave everything out, and just be with your inner voice and your inner wisdom, you also know how to guide yourself and lead yourself to the way to a joyous relationship and to the relationship that you desire and that you can reach. There's a big myth that experts know the best. And yeah, experts know a lot. And experts can help us a lot. And we'll get to that soon. But first of all, we need to listen to ourselves. Listen to me as myself, my husband as himself. And then us as a couple, what's right for us? What is it that we need? What is it that we strive for? And really know how to turn inwards to what it is that we know internally, so deeply, so intuitively. And how do we express that in our relationship? That's also why I don't believe in a formula for a marriage coach. You can't have a formula that's going to work for everybody. Every couple is so different. Every couple's needs are so different. Every couple brings to the table something else. And when you take this formula and you try to box everybody into that, it's not going to work. Or it might work in a certain way. But really, there needs to be some kind of foundation. And then you build on top of that foundation what is right for each couple, because only they are going to know what is the right way that they need to get to exactly where they want to be. Now we're going to balance that out a little bit. And the next point I want to talk about is preparation and learning. From my personal experience as well as research, we can securely say that knowledge is power. Let's go back to childbirth. When a mother is prepared for birth, her experience will be very different. If you know what things are going to happen, what things can happen, what's considered normal, if you know what kind of birth you're striving for, you'll know how to reach that kind of birth, then things will be able to manifest. When something is unknown, it's much scarier. The more known that you have when you go into childbirth, of course, as much as possible, because there's so much that is unknown and we don't know everything, but as much as we prepare ourselves, the more fear we can reduce. So if we want to balance out what we were saying before, we need to first turn inwards and we need to first listen to what's going on inside. But then we also need to understand that marriage doesn't come with an instruction manual. And there's so much that we don't know. And there's so much that we need to learn. It's kind of like this whole new language. And it's a whole new world of learning how to live a life, of mending two different lives together. And for that, sometimes we need help to really learn about it and gain awareness to the steps that we're going through in our marriage, gain awareness about what are different communication tools that we can use in our marriage, what are different things that can benefit our marriage and benefit our relationship, because there's is so much that we need to learn. So if we balance it out with what we said before, come with your inner wisdom, understand that you need to turn into there also, tune into what's going on inside, but then become a forever student and never stop learning and continue learning what can make your marriage better and what can make your relationship better. The next point I would like to talk about is about support. So, of course, as a birth doula, I know that doulas can reduce many interventions and many negative outcomes of birth. Just the fact that there's somebody that's there to support, it's kind of mind-blowing how much it changes a childbirth experience. So people who have continuous support during childbirth experience a 25% decrease in the risk of a cesarean, which is crazy. Just having someone there that's supporting. In today's society, we want to raise independent and strong women, which I'm totally for. But sometimes this cultural dialogue makes it really difficult for moms to be able to seek support. There are some things that are harder to do on our own. We used to live in tribal communities. Women would work together to get through the day-to-day grind. No woman did all the tasks on her own. There was always somebody that was there to support you. Today, women are bound to so much more solitude. The moms I know aren't going down to the river together to do the laundry. Neither are they going to pick vegetables in the garden with their friends. People are doing things by themselves. They don't always have the support they need. Life has changed and created separate family units. Sometimes it's hard for us to merge them, to include others in the day-to-day grind, to ask for help when needed. Now, when we talk about support in marriage, there's two different kinds of support I'd like to talk about. The first one is support from each other. When I accompany a couple in childbirth and I see the support that they each give to each other, I know that there'll be more oxytocin going, and I know that it will benefit the childbirth. When I see a partner supporting their wife in childbirth, it's a lot about really sensitive cues about what it is she needs. Sometimes it's enough for her to just look in his eyes with a certain look that he knows to identify as her asking for support. And whether it's emotional support, whether it's encouragement that she needs to hear at that point, whether it's physical support, sometimes a birthing mother will take her husband's hand and guide it to where it needs to be in order to give her that physical support that she needs. But in childbirth, we really see how support is so important between one another, and also the beautiful, sensitive, gentle ways that one can ask for support from their spouse. And I think that that's something that we really need to learn also outside, because after childbirth, it's very easy for me to demand things from my husband, or for him to demand things of me and what it is exactly I need. And I need you to do this, and I think that we need to learn from that support during childbirth of knowing how to ask for support, knowing what my needs are, what is it that I need at this point, what's going to help me feel better, what's going to help me feel supported at this time. So first I need to know what it is I need, and then know how to ask for it. I can demand it, but it will probably not end up so great. Or I can learn different ways, even discuss it with my husband, of different ways that I can ask for his support that will then be accepted with love and with empathy. So that is so important, to know what it is I need to be supported. Just a few nights ago, I was having a really bad night, and I wrote my husband I was like, listen, I just need to let it all out. And I wrote this long message of all these things that were frustrating me at that time. And just in life, I was feeling so overwhelmed. Okay, maybe it was the hormones of being at the end of the pregnancy. Maybe it was a lot of things together, but I was just so overwhelmed. And when he came home and we sat down to talk about it, he said, how can I support you? And I think I burst out of tears, and I was like, I don't know what I need. And when I'm not aware of what it is that I need, it'll be very hard for him to support me, because whatever he does might not be enough, because that's not what I need. So the first thing is to really be aware of what it is that I need right now. Sometimes it's so easy for us to pour the guilt on our spouse, that like, why are you supporting me more? And then when he wants to support us, he just doesn't know what that means, because neither do we. And then it doesn't matter what he does, because it'll never be enough. So first, we need to be aware of what it is that I need. How can I be supported at this time of my life? Sometimes it's simple things, and sometimes it's bigger things. But first of all, to really know my needs, and then to know how to ask for them. And that's something that is so important to learn how to do. The other type of support that I want to talk about is from the outside world. That sometimes as a couple, we ourselves need to gain support from outside. Maybe it's technical support that we need to sometimes lean into our family, that they can help us with things that are going on. And sometimes it's things that we need help with our relationship. When we went through our really hard patch, it was really hard for us to turn for support in the beginning and say, look, this is something that we really need help with. And then after that, it was something that we knew how to do much better. There was a time that there was this underlying issue that we just couldn't solve on our own. And we said, okay, this is the time where we need to turn outside and ask somebody who's objective in this area or on this subject, and get this support that we need in order for us to be able to come out stronger. And not to be afraid to ask for that support from outside. When you need help, turn for it. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's something to be proud that you know how to be aware of your needs as a couple and then ask for it in the times when you need it. That's why people ask me, what do you do as a coach? And I coach brave couples. I coach brave women who know how to ask for help. Not that things are totally a disaster. Things are okay, maybe, and I want things to be better. And then people know to turn for help, which I admire so much, because we all want our relationships to be great relationships, and we want to model great relationships to our children. And sometimes in order to do that, we need to turn for help. As I said, it's not something to be embarrassed about. It's something to be so proud that you have the power, the inner power to be able to do that. The next point I want to talk about is pain. So when I tell people that I have had painless natural births, they don't believe me. Not only do they not believe me, but they usually think I'm crazy. Because we usually think about all those movies that we've seen with women huffing and puffing and yelling and throwing things, with like not believing how much this could actually hurt. And that's what we've been taught that childbirth looks like. But I don't believe that. I don't believe it has to be that way. And maybe this is something that needs to be talked about on a whole nother episode. But with the help of hypnobirthing and many other things, I was able to experience really beautiful births without suffering from pain. And the key to a woman in childbirth and having a blissful birth is to be able to breathe through her surges or contractions and not dwell on the fear. Really reduce the fear, not focus on how long it's been already or how much more time it will take, but instead she just focuses on the moment, on breathing right now. She recognizes what's happening at this moment. She's aware of the energy going through her body, and she really knows how to breathe through it. And I think that a lot of times pain in marriage or pain in a relationship, it comes from fear. If we have an argument or if I say something sensitive, I could be afraid of what it will do to our relationship. What if we feel distance? What if we then fight again? What if we, according to hypnobirthing, pain comes from fear. And when there's no fear, then there's no pain. And I think that many times in hardships in marriage, when we're able to reduce the fear, take away the fear-induced thoughts of what's going to happen if we talk about this, or what if I share this with him, and what if he rejects it, and what if sometimes we're so caught up in our fearful thoughts that it's really hard for us to be able to open up, and for us to be able to be in the moment, and for us to be able to breathe in the right now. And I think that if we're able to focus on the now, and we don't catastrophize whatever is going on right now, we're going to also be able to add purpose to the pain. In childbirth, when a woman knows that this pain is leading her to something beautiful, and it becomes much easier for her to be able to really breathe through the surges. And I think that being able to focus on the moment, don't think about, but if it's bad now, then what's going to be in 10 years? And when the children leave, then we're not even going to have anything to talk about. And we'll probably get divorced by then, and like catastrophize and think about what will be. And just like people do in childbirth, that, oh my goodness, if I'm only 6 centimeters and it hurts so much, then what's going to be when I'm fully dilated? I won't be able to handle it. And just take a deep breath. Focus on the right now. Just like we spoke about in the beginning, just being able to take a deep breath, have patience, believe in the process, know that you know how to do this. You have an innate ability to connect. Use the knowledge that you've gained from your learning and from your preparation. Know that you have support from each other, and that you always have the ability to turn for support from others. And then the pain becomes something that makes us so much stronger. When things are hard, when things get rough and tough, we need to learn how to handle it and not suffer. No woman should suffer during childbirth, and nobody should suffer during marriage. When we're both focused on growth and focused on intentional building of our relationship, then even when things get hard, we will be able to grow from there so much more. I also believe that childbirth has the ability to empower us as women. It doesn't matter what type of birth you have. It doesn't matter what your preferences in childbirth are, but it's about a choice. When I know that this is my body and I'm choosing how I want things to happen, even when things take a turn for the unknown or for something that I didn't decide, if I'm in a mindset of choice and in a mindset of really being intentful on everything that happens and with intention birthing this baby, then it can be such an empowering experience. And love is the same way. A lot of what love is choice. And it's about waking up and choosing to love this man again and again every day, and choosing to live my life with that choice of loving, and living my life choosing things that are going to bring that love into our lives together. And when it's about loving through choice and loving through a place of really being on this path to growth together, then not only will marriage not be soul-sucking, but it can be so empowering. It could be so empowering, and it could make me as myself so much stronger, and of course us together as a couple. So I would love to bless us all that we all have beautiful births and learn to use all those great tools that we need in childbirth to really make our marriages beautiful, and to be able to transform into mothers and wives and be on this beautiful journey of motherhood and marriage and self-development and mesh them all together. So I wish you all a beautiful day wherever it is you're at, and I can't wait to see you next time. Have a great day. Thanks for joining us and listening to this episode. I know what it's like to crave some together time with your husband, but feel so stuck because for whatever reason, you can't leave the house. Maybe someone's sick, maybe there's no babysitter budget, or maybe you're just too exhausted. Well, that's why I would love to gift you a list of 50 date night ideas that you can do at home when you can't find a babysitter. It doesn't mean date night is doomed. Go over to alizasaid.com, that's ALIZASAID.com/50 date night ideas and download a list of awesome ideas for a date night at home. Plus, you get some really essential guidelines to make a home date awesome. Some important things that can either make it or break it. So head over to alizasaid.com/50 date night ideas and date away.